on that. Histories of Super Smash Brothers. Wait, he did his own. Oh, let's watch this. He doesn't do it on the tournaments. He just does it on the game. Let's watch this. Look at that quality. Where's this quest?
Me and you and me. No matter how they toss the dice, it had to be the only one for me.
I'm retarded. Alright, let's go the other way.
I want you to imagine me at 12 years old seeing this commercial back in 1999 for the first time. I actually still remember the day I first saw it. I was at my friend's house watching Cartoon Network, and there it was, our favorite Nintendo characters pummeling each other. We immediately begged for a ride to Walmart to purchase the game.
Walmart?
You see, a game like Super Smash Bros., it was unique for its time. Nintendo usually kept all of their franchises separate. Sure, you would see the occasional Easter egg or cameo every now and then, but nothing like this. It was all of our favorite characters in one game. Not only that, but they were fighting each other. Crazy! Super Smash Bros. Began as an experiment, a fun side project for developers HAL Laboratories. Now it is one of Nintendo's most popular franchises and a staple in professional fighting game tournaments. It's time to take a look back and see where it all began. And it all started as an idea by Kirby creator Masahiro Sakurai back in 1998. The year is 1998, and Kirby creator Masahiro Sakurai is hard at work on HAL Laboratories' next big game. The project kept Sakurai busy, but that didn't stop him from thinking of other ideas for games. One particular idea he had was a fighting game for the casual gamer at home. 2D fighting games at the time were everywhere, with the best versions being in the arcade. The problem was, casual gamers felt intimidated to play in the arcades due to the competitive nature of the games. Sakurai wanted to change that, making an easily accessible console fighting game that anyone can play, master, and enjoy. Sakurai worked on his new passion project on the weekends. However, he needed help with the programming. He approached his boss, Satoru Iwata, with his fighting game idea. The timing couldn't have been better. Iwata, too, had ideas for new games, particularly one that used the N64's analog stick and the 4-player...
Oh, wait, did he die? Oh, he did die. Oh, I forgot. Wait, how did he die? Didn't he was it cancer? The Wii?
Capabilities built into the system. Iwata agreed to help Sakurai program the game, which they initially dubbed 4-Player Battle Royale. Over time, the two had a working prototype and had named it Dragon King: The Fighting Game. They slapped some generic faceless characters into the game for demonstration purposes. Sakurai was happy with the foundation, and the game was fun to play, but it lacked a real identity. He wanted to make the atmosphere more interesting to the player.
I take it.
Fighting games in arcades were different because players played the game to fight and challenge each other. Character development wasn't that big of a deal. But a fighting game on the home console had to have a good atmosphere to keep the player in the game hooked.
Halt! Butters is here. Are you going to fight? Watch. Watch, Butters. Okay, he waved. I dotted him. Run! Okay, we're safe.
So what better atmosphere than the world of Nintendo? Without permission, Sakurai and Iwata threw some Nintendo characters into the game. It was a perfect match, but what would Nintendo think? They nervously pitched the game to the company with no idea as to how they would take it.
Chat, if you could work at Nintendo right now, would you do it? Or would you rather work at Nintendo, or would you rather work, let's say, Nintendo or for Fortnite? Ooh, there's another one. Liz, hold. Run! Run. Actually, yeah, just keep running, just keep running.
Turns out, Nintendo loved it, and approved the use of their characters in the game. This was a huge relief to Sakurai. Not only did he have a cast of characters and levels, but he had the branding of Nintendo behind his game. Their next challenge, believe it or not, was to sell the product. Market research showed that gamers in Japan weren't too excited about having their favorite characters beat each other up.
What? Oh my
Nintendo
god, people were pussies back then too.
Hyped the game by releasing a playing guide online to show gamers the ins and outs of the game. On January 21st, 1999, Nintendo released Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64 to the Japanese public.
Ooh.
The game sold better than expected, and 3 months later, it made its way to North America, where it became...
Dude, the box art on Super Smash Bros. Chat. Hold. Let me just pull this bad boy out. The box art on a Super Smash Bros. Chat. There is just nothing better, okay? This is a flex, chat. And this is the only thing I could possibly flex in my life, okay? Look at that. Look at that. Clean. This thing could probably get graded. It looks so good. I love it. The box art is just so nice. It's a box? What do you mean? Graded? I want to go get my stuff graded, but I just don't know how. Looks like an 85 grade? I know. That's why any time Mitch comes over and he tries to touch my boxes, I freak the fuck out. We're okay. That's okay. Look up how to grade it right now. Apparently they're at like some conventions sometimes and stuff, and I should just go to them. But then every time I go to a convention, I usually get banned, and I get more upset about that.
A hit. Super Smash Bros. Sold over 5 million units. 3 million of those in North America. It's the 5th best-selling game on the Nintendo 64. So now let's talk about the actual game. How good is the original Super Smash Bros. 15 years later? Actually, it's pretty damn good. And a big reason for that are the controls. They are so precise and accurate in this game that it still makes it fun and easy to play. There aren't any complicated combos to learn for each fighter. Every move for each fighter is executed in the same way, and at the most will require 2 buttons to use. Each character is highly unique with their moves coming from their respective games. After playing, you will quickly find a character you excel with and stick with them. One of the most unique features of Super Smash Bros. Is the way you actually have to win. In standard fighting games, you knock your opponent's life bar down to 0. But Super Smash Bros. Is all about knocking the character off the stage.
What was the best
The percentages sort of act as a life bar, in that the higher the percent of damage a character has, the easier it becomes to knock them off.
I would say the best Smash ever made was Melee. And not because of tournaments, I just think Melee was the most fun Smash I ever had. I was in love with Melee. I loved it so much. Then from Melee, I'd probably put Super Mario 64. I just think it was, at its time, it was insanely good. It lasted for so long. I put Melee, Super Mario 64, or the 64 version. Brawl sucked dick. Brawl was trash. An absolute just dog shit. I hated Brawl, but I played the fuck out of it, still like Smash. Then what would I say? Smash 4 was okay. I like Smash 5 and I like Smash... Smash 5 and Smash 4 to me are so similar, honestly. There's not really that like much different to them. But, I don't know. So I would say Melee was my favorite.
Another feature you don't usually see are items.
Axiom
Items
got
will
banned.
randomly drop during battles that can
If Axiom got banned, why are you showing me a video of him?
help you, but also hurt you. You'll recognize a few of these items from the Nintendo franchises they come from. Overall, Super Smash Bros. Isn't that big of a game. The single player is quick and fairly easy, and doesn't really mix anything up after you've played through it a few times. It's pretty shallow, actually. The real joy of Super Smash Bros. Is the multiplayer.
Beating your
4-player
friends.
battles with a bunch of options, including timed battles, stock battles, item switches, and team battles. This is where Super Smash Bros. Stands out, and why it became so popular. I know growing up, multiplayer mode was pretty much all we played once we unlocked all the secrets.
Yep.
So with Super Smash Bros. Being a success, what was next for Sakurai and his new franchise? With sales better than expected.
I always thought this was a smile, a face, chat. Was it just me, or when you were a kid, did you think this was a guy's face? I thought this was a face, and I thought this was his like eyebrows or something. I never, ever, ever thought it was a dog with 3 eggs in my entire life. I always thought it was 2 eyes and like a hairnet. I didn't know what the fuck it was. I never knew that it was a dog with 3 eggs. No clue. Ever. Am I wrong? I think it looks just like a ham. Hold on. Okay, this... I never saw the dog. Fuck. I never saw the dog in this chat. I'm not kidding you. I've never seen it in my entire life.
Expected, Nintendo turned back to HAL Laboratories for a sequel. Their new system, the GameCube, was coming out. With more powerful hardware, Super Smash Bros. Could turn into a flagship title for the system. Masahiro Sakurai was made director once again,
Hooray!
And began undertaking his biggest gaming project yet. There are lots of firsts for him. His first disc-based game, his first use of real polygons, his first use of orchestrated music. He wanted it all, and Nintendo gave him the means to do it. It was all up to him now to put it together.
That's cool.
To quote Sakurai, "I was a man on a mission." Compared to the original, Super Smash Bros. Melee
That's it?
was going to be huge. The game featured 13 more playable characters, new levels, new modes, mini-games, and unlockables. Other developers wanted in on the game too. Hideo Kojima, creator of the Metal Gear Solid series, wanted Solid Snake in the game, but the game was already too far in development to include him.
Interesting.
Nintendo commissioned 3 graphics studios to create the stunning opening movie for the game, and showed it off at E3 2001. Advertisements were played during showings of the Pokemon movie in Japan. Gamers were excited. The press was excited. The game looked incredible, and everything seemed to be coming together. But for Masahiro Sakurai, it was a dark and stressful time. He would work up to 40 hours straight, sleep for 4 hours, then head back to work. He wouldn't take any holidays, or stop work on Sunday. Sakurai stated, "I pushed myself beyond any limit I could think of." But he and his team's hard work paid off by creating the sharpest, most polished Super Smash Bros. Game available. Super Smash Bros. Melee is a huge game compared to the original. There are so many extra modes, options, and collectibles. The single-player game has added an adventure mode that offers some platforming levels. It has some kind of story? I don't know. It's more than just the classic mode, so that's a plus. Just like the first game, the strengths of Melee lie in its deep multiplayer, and they really went all out. They added a ton of extra options and modes to customize your multiplayer fights, including a tournament mode. Probably my favorite addition is the extra bonus game, Home Run Contest. You have to beat this sandbag up as much as possible, then hit it as far as you can with the bat. Along with all the unlockable characters and stages, Melee also added trophies for players to unlock.
I need shamans.
During single player, you can find these trophies, or you can collect coins from winning battles and use the lottery. The trophies are actually one of the best parts about the game.
True,
They're
I did
addicting to
want the
collect,
trophies.
and browsing through the gallery provides some nice information about each one. To date, Super Smash Bros. Melee has sold 7 million copies, making it the best-selling GameCube game of all time. IGN stated it put the original to shame.
Really?
And their readers chose it as the game of the year. GameSpot claimed it was one of the most engaging multiplayer games available for any console platform. Melee also burst onto the competitive gaming scene. In 2004, Major League Gaming added Melee to its tournament roster. Most recently, it has become a staple of the Evolution Championship Series, also known as EVO, an annual fighting game tournament held in Las Vegas.
Lol.
After the success of Melee, Sakurai went back to work on other projects for HAL Laboratories, but there was a growing rift between him and the company. Sakurai felt HAL was making too many sequels. In 2003, he decided to leave the company and start his own, Sora. The future of the Super Smash Bros. Series was suddenly up in the air.
Drama. What do we do, chat? Part 2. You boys ready? That was fun. Yeah, I love these streams. They're great. These are the guys I need. Shamans and these things.
Welcome back to the Gaming Historian. When we last left off, Masahiro Sakurai, under heavy stress, had completed Super Smash Bros. Melee, a game many consider the best in the series. But all was not well. A rift had grown between himself and his employer, HAL Laboratory. He left to form his own company, Sora, and no one knew what would become of the Super Smash Bros. Series. However, an old friend of Sakurai's was about to make a surprising announcement. It's 2005, and Satoru Iwata, Sakurai's former boss at HAL, is now the president of Nintendo after taking over for an aging Hiroshi Yamauchi. At E3 of that year, Nintendo announced the Wii and along with it, the desire for a new Super Smash Bros. Title. Sakurai watched from the audience, surprised by the announcement. Super Smash Bros. Was his creation, and no one had approached him about a sequel. Later that day, however, Iwata requested a personal meeting with his old friend. He wanted him to once again take the reins and develop this latest sequel. There were complications, considering HAL Laboratory had made the previous 2 games.
Pause, chat.
But Sakurai accepted, saying, "I had no choice but to do it." Thus began the creation of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. For development, Nintendo rented out an independent office that would concentrate solely on the game. HAL Laboratory provided all of their data for Melee, and Nintendo began hiring a team of developers specifically to make the game. A majority of the developers came from the studio Game Arts, who had just wrapped up Grandia 3. Overall, there were about 100 people developing the game. It was to be the biggest Smash Bros. Game yet. Sakurai wanted Brawl to show off the technology of the Wii, much like Melee showed.
Did you guys play the story mode for Brawl? Did you guys play the story mode? The story mode was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. The story mode was good. Like, I don't enjoy story mode. I like the story mode in Brawl a lot.
Showed off the technology of the GameCube. Online play was going to be the highlight, along with new physics and textures on the characters. Sakurai also wanted to make the game a little easier. He felt Melee was, quote, too difficult, and he disliked how competitive Melee matches became, harkening back to the days of 2D fighters in the arcades.
Here we go.
The team's most difficult roadblock came with motion controls, the standout feature of the Wii console. How would Smash Bros. Use it? Ultimately, Sakurai made the decision to not fully implement motion control.
Thank God.
He felt it would, quote, get in the way of the game. The development team, however, did find a way to integrate motion control in the end, although it was minimal. Players would be able to shake the Wii remote to do a smash attack. Sakurai wanted to expand the character roster as well. Hideo Kojima finally got his wish, and Solid Snake was included in the game.
Hooray!
The biggest inclusion, however, was something fans thought they would never see. On the game's official website, fans were allowed to vote on which character they would love to see the most. The overwhelming vote was Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega's answer to Mario during the console wars of the 90s. They would now be able to fight each other in Brawl. After numerous delays to improve the game, Super Smash Bros. Brawl was officially released on March 9th, 2008 in North America.
I remember I went there.
According to Nintendo, it sold 874,000 copies on the first day, and 1.4 million copies in the first week. It's the fastest selling North American Nintendo game in history. Super Smash Bros. Brawl received universal praise, but many hardcore fans weren't happy with some of the new features. What do I think? Well, I really like Brawl. From a casual perspective, Brawl adds a ton of extra stuff while keeping the core gameplay fun and addicting. Let's start with the single-player mode. Nintendo added a new Subspace Emissary mode, which is a full-fledged single-player game, complete with story and platforming stages. It's a much better single-player mode than the one on Melee, which felt kinda rushed.
Yes.
There's also the classic mode where you battle various characters and ultimately fight the Master Hand. Brawl also brings back the Stadium mode, which has the target levels and home run contest. One feature that they brought back from Melee are events. These are challenges to
I loved the events. I thought they were so much fun to do.
complete, which unlock stickers and trophies. These are actually a lot of fun and is yet another addicting part of the single player. Speaking of unlockables,
I grabbed
Brawl
three
is
things.
chock full of them. Stickers, trophies, characters, and stages can all be unlocked. You can even play trial versions of classic Nintendo games the characters are from. One thing I do like is how you unlock new trophies with the coin challenge.
I played this thing all the time, chat. I was addicted. I tried to go for every single thing, but I think I just forgot to do it. I love to do this. I would do it all the time.
It's no longer just a lottery, but an actual shooting game. You'll go through coins quickly playing this. But of course, the greatest part of Brawl is multiplayer, and everything is back plus more, including tournament mode. The character roster has also been expanded tremendously.
True.
Unfortunately, the online mode was very restrictive and laggy, and I say was because Nintendo is no longer supporting it. Online play was a serious letdown, especially after Sakurai stated it was one of the highlights of the game. So from my perspective, Brawl is a natural evolution of Melee. But why did some gamers not enjoy Brawl? Well, Brawl's gameplay is a bit slower than Melee, and some of the physics of the game have been changed. There's also tripping in this game. Sometimes your character will just trip while running, which is...
How do they have a whole studio of people and they think that any idea that tripping is a good thing to implement in the game? That is what made the game such trash. I couldn't believe that they left it in the game. It just blew my mind.
It's really annoying and slows down the game even more. All these changes were implemented to make the game more easily accessible to gamers. However, it completely killed the competitive scene that Melee brought.
Right.
Gamers even released a mod of Brawl known as Project M, which removes all of these changes and makes the game more similar to Melee. Even with those complaints, you can't deny that Brawl was a great game, and a huge success for Nintendo. The game has sold over 11 million units since its release.
Damn.
After Brawl, Sakurai returned to work at his company Sora. He walked away from Brawl pleased, feeling that a sequel would not be necessary.
Whoops.
He felt Brawl was the most complete Smash Bros. Game he had made. But gamers wanted more. Melee was too competitive,
And Nintendo wanted more money.
and Brawl was too casual, and people were looking for a happy medium. At E3 2011, Nintendo had announced their new console, the Wii U.
No jigs, thank you.
Their new handheld, the Nintendo 3DS, was brand new to the market. Satoru Iwata, president of Nintendo, then delivered the news everyone was hoping for.
What Mr. Sakurai suggested then was a specific idea to make Smash Brothers for both Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, to make it work together on both platforms.
Yes.
Sakurai was once again named director, and his company, Sora, worked together with
Sakurai's the
Bandai
man,
Namco to
chat.
develop the game. He fully immersed himself into overseeing the development of the new game, despite developing tendinitis in his right shoulder.
Tendinitis? What's that?
It left him in constant pain, unable to use a standard mouse. He rented a home near the development studio in Tokyo to keep himself within walking distance of work. Every day after lunch, he would play 4-player matches to look for balance issues and tweaks that could be made.
Damn.
Sakurai was looking to find the balance between Melee and Brawl. Sakurai said, quote, "It's supposed to be a fun game for a wide variety of people." With this new iteration of Smash Bros., the primary focus would be on the two different versions for the 3DS and the Wii U. The other
Let's
new
escort this
feature
guy
would
outta
be
here.
the use of amiibo toys.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Players would be
Sebastian.
able to purchase amiibos, scan them into the game, and fight against them. Sakurai stated, "I really like the idea of being able to provide new ways to play."
Idiot.
On October 3rd, 2014,
Yoink. Oh, fuck.
Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS was released to critical acclaim
have any of
and has
this.
sold over 3 million copies worldwide to date. A month later, on November 21st, Super Smash Bros. For
Follow
the
the
Wii
bear.
U was released and quickly became the fastest-selling Wii U game ever. While I would
Was there any other Wii U game that ever sold fast? I mean, like, what the fuck? I don't think the Wii U sold fast. Like, what are they on about? They're making it sound like it actually did anything.
love to talk about both titles, I'm going to focus on the Wii U version. To make it short, it's the best Super Smash Bros. Game yet, and I do think Sakurai was able to find the balance between Melee and Brawl. There's no more tripping, the speed has increased, and the online works really well. The character roster is the biggest yet, and features some fun new...
Was that an ad? No. No. The online did not work well. That is not true at all. No, it did not.
Additions like the Duck Hunt Dog, Mega Man, and even Pac-Man. Every character is pretty well balanced, and none of them seem completely overpowering. There's a new mode known as Smash Tour, which is like a board game where you have to assemble fighters on your team and complete fights and challenges. Personally, I'm not a fan.
Let's save
Play
Xavier!
single player or multiplayer, but I just don't find it very fun.
Chat,
There's also a new mode called Special Orders, where you can gamble some money on challenges. It's a risk-reward type of game. Earning trophies has also changed. Melee had the slot machine, Brawl had a minigame, but in this Smash, you have Trophy Rush. Players exchange coins for time and
Even
must
though
destroy
trash
as
is
many
absolute
crates as
shit,
possible.
It's still better
can also
than
buy
Mario Magalal. Why do people even care about competitive in a party game anyway? Pepe laugh.
Trophies in the store, although it's not nearly as fun. But the heart of Smash lies within its multiplayer, and Smash for the Wii U stands out. You can now have up to 8 players in local multiplayer, which makes for some insane battles.
Who has 8 friends to play with, though? Come on.
The online multiplayer works much better than the Brawl version ever did, and it's much easier to find a game. Another standout feature is Amiibo support. Basically, you buy these figures in store, scan them onto the Wii U gamepad, and the game creates a custom fighter for you that you can
Fucking
train,
Amiibos,
level up,
man.
and customize. It's a neat feature, but I do wish you could actually play as your Amiibo, rather than it being CPU controlled.
Chat, should I buy every Amiibo now? Jam. Oh, whoops.
So after 15 years of the Super Smash Bros. Series, what happens next?
Now what?
Masahiro Sakurai was 28 years old when he first began work on the Super Smash Bros. Series. Now at 44 with tendinitis in his shoulder, he admitted that Super Smash on the Wii U may be his final game in the series.
No.
Quote, "I can't positively declare there won't be another Smash Bros. Game. With both Melee and Brawl, I made those games with a thought that there wouldn't be any more sequels. Thus, I really can't deny the chance for another.
But
However,
money
as for
talks.
myself, I don't think there will be." I think we can all agree that Sakurai's decision to make the game back in 1998 was one of the best decisions he ever made. Regardless of the future of the series, Super Smash Bros. Is now a staple Nintendo franchise, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. That's all for this episode of The Gaming
No.
Historian. Thanks for watching.